You must have heard in the news the trending story that the leading presidential candidates in the upcoming People's Democratic Party presidential primary, Mr. Peter Obi, had been in London on Monday to be in the office of the British Prime Minister. And it was a story that, first of all, emanated from the Twitter handle of Mr. Peter Obi, the former governor of Anambra State and leading presidential aspirant in Nigeria today across board. When I say across board, I mean across all the political parties. That image of Mr. Peter Obi standing at the door of 10 Downing Street, the office of the residence and the office of the British Prime Minister, has sent a lot of message. It is the message therein that we want to talk about right now. What is the significance of Peter Obi's visit to London few days before the PDP delegates elect who will be the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party? If you follow the media, you would have discovered that the picture of Peter Obi at that number 10 Downing Street, and which he took with the minister in the Conservative government, who is known as Jonathan Peter Melland, a renowned businessman and politician who is in charge of business development, climate change, innovation, and what have you in the British government. And from what Mr. Obi himself tweeted, he has had long-term relationship with this man, because the level of banter he explained at the exchange will show you that there have been familiarity for a long time. Don't forget that Mr. Peter Obi had been a successful businessman in UK and in London in particular, where he lived for many years, doing business with integrity and with credibility. So he's well known in the business cycle in the United Kingdom. Now, if you follow the reports, he was in UK. I'm sure he was invited by the office of the Prime Minister to give his views, to share his knowledge, because when I investigated further, I found out that they say he was there over the issue of how to develop business, to improve business in Commonwealth. Commonwealth is a committee of countries that were once colonized by the British government. So it appears since the British government left the European Union, they are trying to galvanize the Commonwealth to be a source of business relationship that could benefit Britain, just as it used to benefit them before. But of course, now it it will be based on equal partnership, since this is the end of colonialism. I'm sure they wanted to tap his knowledge because that was why he was invited. And why is this thing significant? It is significant because it is an acknowledgement by the British government at the highest level that the Mr. Peter Obi has the capacity and knowledge of development, business development, that could benefit the whole of the Commonwealth, for which they want him to share with the British Prime Minister and other British government officials at the office of the British Prime Minister. From the reports, the meeting lasted for over an hour. Of course, you know that in serious minded discussions, an hour is enough to share knowledge. It also shows the attitude of Mr. Peter Obi that he could leave Nigeria at such short notice to go to UK to attend to this very important meeting. So Nigerians should take note of it, that the man that they are being presented with the opportunity to elect as the president of Nigeria is a man who has capacity that is already recognized by the international community. He has developmental ideas, business development ideas that the world, the Commonwealth want to share, want to tap into. Let not Nigeria lose it. So for me, that is one of the most significant takeaway from his going to UK on Monday. It's a recognition that he has capacity. It's a recognition of his ability to lead. So let this not be lost to the delegates of the PDP. Now, another important thing about it is that it has also generated a lot of trends in the media. If you check on Monday, you discover that that particular picture of Mr. Peter Obi at the 10 Downing Street was one of the trending pictures in Nigeria. You could see it in Punch newspaper. You could see it in Gazette newspaper. You could also see it in PM News and other media outlets. It was like a coded message of the significance and the international connection of Mr. Peter Obi, that he is not a local player. He's a man who has played at international level. Of course, those who have followed Mr. Peter Obi are aware that he had been into business for a long time, international business. So it shouldn't be a new thing to them. But there are some other Nigerians who may not be aware of this. They only knew him as governor of Anambra State, former governor of Anambra State. Many didn't even know that he had been chairman of two major banks in Nigeria, and that he's a major financial guru in Nigeria, in the private sector, whose words are highly respected and regarded, even before he became governor. So that's one of the takeaways you can take from the trending picture of Mr. Peter Obi at the Downing Street. Now, his visit also generated some sort of controversy in the media, social media, of course. You know, a lot of things go on in the social media these days. That's where people congregate to iron out a lot of issues concerning Nigeria, concerning the economy of Nigeria. In fact, even discuss what matters to the world. Now, one of the people that were not comfortable with that visit was saying that why should Mr. Peter Obi be going to London when other contestants are going after the delegates, that he ought to be in Nigeria to run after the delegates. But my take on that kind of thinking is this: is actually a Twitter message that of somebody who is ignorant of the recent happening in the campaign of Mr. Peter Obi. Mr. Peter Obi is probably the only presidential candidate from the southeast who has visited all the 36 states or so of the country. Yes, he has visited all of them. Before he left Nigeria on Monday for this trip, he had already concluded visits to all the states, one by one, where he spoke with the groups of delegates in each of the states that he visited. He has visited them and he spoke with them. It was not like, okay, look at somebody like Governor Dave Umahi, who is contesting for president under the APC. He has not visited any state. What he said was that he has the WhatsApp numbers of all the delegates so he can communicate with them. So you can't compare that with the seriousness of the Obi campaign, because Obi has visited most of the states in the country. He has campaigned in the 36 states of the country where he needed their votes. So he has taken care of that, and it's not a valid position to say that Peter Obi should have stayed around. What's he staying around for? When he has visited all of them, he has talked to them, and I'm sure even as he left, he has his own minders that will be speaking with those people on phone, keep on interacting with them until the election day. That he don't need to visit them anymore, having visited them once, because when you visit some of these states, it's always arranged. There is a location where the delegates will gather, you meet with them one-on-one. Of course, I will assume that most aspirants and their campaign organizations, when they got the opportunity of meeting these people, they would like to have their contact address so that they'll be keeping on interacting with them through email, through WhatsApp, through phone, and what have you. So I think Mr. Peter Obi had taken care of that before going to this London, and I don't expect him to stay much longer after the bring. I'm sure as you are listening to this, maybe he's back again in the country. So it was not a valid criticism that he should have stayed to be to monitor the delegates. It makes no sense. They have spoken with the delegates. The ball is now in the court of the delegates. But I expect his campaign officials to be also constantly reminding them about what is on board so that they don't get carried away. So there's a need for contact, and I believe that Mr. Peter Obi, being a very careful person, must have taken care of that before traveling. Now, before I go ahead, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to it so that anytime we have anything to share, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. Now, another issue that would have came up in terms of the significance or criticism of Peter Obi's travel was that some people are saying, what is he going to London to do? Are they going to be among the voters? In fact, one of the Twitter handles was saying that the Downing Street, are they going to vote in the primaries? What is he going there for? You and I know that if you understand the dynamics of power in Nigeria and in many developing countries, you cannot rule out establishing good relationship with the colonial powers, because at the end of the day, these are the people that you are going to deal with in handling the economy of Nigeria. Nigeria is not living in isolation. Nigeria is a member of the Committee of Nations, and there are critical nations in the world that you cannot do without them, no matter how hard you tried. Britain is one of them. Britain is, no matter the small size of their population, they are a major economic players in the world. London remains one of the most critical business cities anywhere in the world. So having good relationship with those who manages the economy of UK is a good development. They inviting you to come and speak with their prime minister at whatever level is a significant development. You cannot wish it away. That was why, if you recall, when President Muhammad Buhari was contesting for president, there were many times he had to be at the Chatham House in London. He was invited by Chatham House to talk and all that. And I expect that by the time Mr. Peter Obi eventually emerged the candidate of the PDP, he will also be invited at the Chatham House in London, so that they could be able to know his plans for Nigeria and how that plans will be of benefit to Nigeria, to UK, to Commonwealth, and to the world. So you cannot isolate yourself when you want to be a leader of Nigeria. Being a leader of Nigeria is a very significant position that you cannot avoid having a kind of ties with the United Kingdom. Whether we like it or not, no matter how much we despise colonial ties and all that, but you cannot rule out the importance of Britain accepting somebody who wants to be the president of Nigeria. You may say, out of patriotism, what's the business of Britain? Are they the one going to choose the president for us? But I can assure you that no president will emerge in Nigeria and have peace to be able to operate effectively if he doesn't have good relationship with some major Western powers like the United Kingdom. So that is important. And it's also important for delegates of the PDP to take note of this, that they are dealing with a man who the door of Downing Street is open to him. He is not like some of the other candidates who are hiding. They're only waiting to come to London with the presidential immunity. Peter Obi don't need presidential immunity to travel to anywhere in the world. He can go to the office of the British Prime Minister as a private citizen. He can go to any office in the world as a private citizen. He's not like some of the other presidential aspirants in the People's Democratic Party, who is doubtful if they can conveniently travel or be invited to the Downing Street in London, 10 Downing Street in London at this time. So it's also an indication of the kind of acceptability that the P2B presidential campaign has also built around the world. Right now, Peter Obi is the candidate to beat at home and abroad, because already the international community is seeing him as a presidential material, somebody they can work with. That is why it is important that the delegates do the needful by ensuring that a man who has such acceptability, because you need such connections to rebuild Nigeria's economy. You need a president who can call the major international banks and they will listen to him, knowing his pedigree in the private sector as a man of integrity, as an honest businessman who has done business in London and is credit worthy in London business environments. They could take his words to the bank and they catch a check. Let this not be lost to the delegates. To me, that is the significance, or one of the significance of Peter Obi being at the Downing Street. It is a sign that Nigeria is about to elect a president who don't have baggage, in world business centers, who don't have baggage in terms of interacting with world leaders, who has no trace of criminality in terms of court cases in London, US, and everywhere for any kind of corruption. So you have a man who is a man of integrity, a man who have tried to do business with integrity, and who has done business in London with integrity. So let the delegates be guided, and let this opportunity not be lost by the delegates. They should do the right thing by electing Mr. Peter Obi as the presidential candidate of the PDP, and his visits to UK, to the 10 Downing Street, is a clear indication that he's a man that the doors of 10 Downing Street is open for him any day. Thank you for watching. God bless you. And please don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that when we release any news, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you.